What's up, everybody? This is Precisely Podcast. I am Kelly, and joined with me, as always, is Bo.
What up? What up? It's me, Bo.
How you doing, Bo?
I am doing well. How are you, Kelly?
I'm good. And we also have today, back from a slight podcasting vacation, Tony.
What's up, guys?
Oh, we missed you,
Hey!
Tone.
I missed you, man.
I missed you too, even though we've been hanging.
But it's different when we're not in the same room together and talking a lot through a microphone and headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like being on the phone.
Yeah, I guess so. Do people ever call each other anymore, for longer than 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think when I call you, it's usually longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I guess so. I remember when I was a kid, though, after elementary school or middle school, you'd call your best friend and just talk to them for an hour. That doesn't go on anymore, does it?
Probably not as much.
I mean, it depends on the situation, but recently, with not being able to see people and stuff, I think phone calls have been longer than they normally would for
I
me.
would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And also, I guess it depends on the conversation too. If something was happening, you would want to talk about that, so that'd also be longer. But just a conversation, you just call up and be like, "What's up?" I don't feel like that.
Yeah, I feel like
Is
the
that
communication right now, though, is Zoom and podcasts, and that's about it. That's how everyone's communicating.
Honestly, I
social
haven't been on
media.
a Zoom in 2 weeks. It's been great.
That is good. Congrats to that.
Thank you. Yeah. Feels good to be done with work.
Good.
So,
Tony, how's everything with you?
Good, man. Just working and tired from working.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
But, I mean, no complaints, really. It's summertime, so I'm vibing.
Good. Good to hear.
You out there riding?
Yeah, definitely. All the
Shredding
time.
the gnar.
This is peak gnar shredding time.
It is.
Yes.
For me, definitely. I love it when it's hot. Some people don't like it, but I can't get enough of the sun and the fucking insane humidity.
Oh, God, dude. I can do the heat, but I hate the humidity. That's where it gets me.
It's been kind of miserable around here.
Yeah, it should cool off in the next couple days. I'm looking forward to that and spend time outside when it's a little bit less humid. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm working in a warehouse now, and I am chafing in every area that you can chafe.
Oh, God.
That's
not a podcast conversation.
And sweating profusely. I brought my own fan in. My boss brought 2 fans in today as well, so I just have them all facing me. And I'm just fanned out. It feels good though. Today felt better, but still sweaty.
Today wasn't bad. There was some breeze. I went in to restock my booth on Tuesday evening at 5:00, and it's in an old barn, so there's not a lot of air moving around, but there is some air conditioning. And my God, I was sweating through my shirt within 5 minutes of just being in there and just moving, I'm not moving big things. I'm not moving furniture. I'm just moving little pieces and stuff around, and I'm sweating profusely. It was so freaking hot.
Yes, it is. Oh, the great East Coast. Yes.
Summer mode.
Well, let's get to the beer talk.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's cool off a little bit. I just cracked open a beer. Tone, let's start with you. What do you have?
As far as what?
A beer?
Beer.
I have a Haze Charmer from
Ooh.
Trogs.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice dry hopped pale ale, and it's pretty light, I guess, as far as alcohol content.
Yeah,
do you like
agree.
it?
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice summer beer.
Good. I'm
For
drinking
sure.
on a new one from Evergreen Brewery that's right down the street from all of us. It's called Faith and Radar. I've been posting about it at least in my stories on Instagram. It's a hazy IPA that's double dry hopped with Sabro hops, aromas and flavors of ripe pineapple, stone fruit, and a hint of coconut. And I gotta tell you, I bought a case just off the whim. I was like, you know what? I don't see a price tag. I'm gonna buy this. The can looks cool. The can actually has like eyelashes with like a radar sonar thing around the eyelashes and then like continents around it. It's really weird. I don't really understand it. I would love to know more about the can art. But this beer might be my favorite beer. Like hands down might be my favorite beer ever.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard of that one before. Like, is it a new brew? Like, or is it like a
Yes.
okay? I didn't know if it was like new out right now and they had brewed it in the past, but I don't think I've ever heard of that one before.
Well, I'm looking at the Untapped right now, and monthly there's 277 people that untapped it.
Hmm.
Total 646. So it might have been out for a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
but 646 untapped really isn't that much, especially if they're distributing it locally too.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if how far it was going out though, or they were just doing it in the brewery.
It's really good.
That's cool. I'll have to try one. It
Yeah.
sounds good.
I
Is it
saw it Glenn Miller's.
is the coconut super prominent or not?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
And it's it's definitely a hazy IPA. To me, it's not like New England style as much. It's more like milky. It's not like overbearingly fruity. It's very subtle on like the fruity notes of it,
Oh, okay.
but smooth and like thick tasting. Like that's like where I get like the milkiness, like the
Mm-hmm.
haziness of it. So good.
Interesting.
So good.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of coconut in general,
Okay.
so I try to shy away. That's why I was like, oh, I should probably check on the coconut situation before I say I'm
Yeah,
going to go
no.
buy like 12 of these beers.
Yeah, and I'll give you one next time I see you. I don't taste the coconut at all.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll swap you what I'm drinking because I think you'd like this too.
Yeah.
I am also drinking, ironically, an Evergreen beer. Um, I think you and I ended up buying it the same day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was something like that. Yeah, like last week. I saw that they had posted that they were releasing this beer, and I immediately got in my car and drove down to the brewery and bought it, a 4-pack of it, because I was like, I cannot miss out on this. It is called Mothman Double IPA, and if you know anything about me, my favorite cryptid is Mothman. So anything related to Mothman, I am 100% about, and he's great, and I could just talk about him forever. But
I had no idea about this whole Mothman
he's
situation with you.
he's so good. He's just
Okay.
like it's such a weird story and such a weird cryptid. Like you've got Bigfoot, you got the Loch Ness monster, but he's just so enticing to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the can art is super cool. It's Mothman, who, if you don't know, is a legend in the West Virginia area. It is a man shaped, like a man height and build, but it is a moth. So he has moth wings, little moth antenna, and like a moth face, but arms and legs. And he has these glowing red eyes. So on the can, it's just this black and white and gray kind of picture, cartoon picture of Mothman. And he's got like a little guitar like instrument, and he looks like he's singing some notes. And he's flying by the moon. It's pretty cool. Anyway, this is I said it's a double IPA. It's 9.6%, and it says a heady
Ooh.
lemon zest aroma gives way to tropical notes of plump tangerines, ripe passion fruit, and sticky resin, which is interesting.
And go ahead.
I had this the last week for the first time, and my initial thought of it was like, you can taste it is kind of subtly a little bit fruity. The lemon comes out a little bit more than anything, but it's not terribly bitter. It's not thick. It's just like a double IPA kind of, and it doesn't taste heavy either. So it's like a light enough drink for the summer. You can have a couple of these, but maybe you'll be on your butt by that time. I don't
Yeah,
know.
9.6 is
9.6.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Wow.
yeah, it's a good beer, and I enjoy the can, and
I'm excited to try it.
it's good.
And
I
I'm
think you'll
I'm
like it.
guessing that was just a brewery only release that you can only buy it at the brewery, because I did not see that
Yeah.
at Glen
Because they
Miller's.
had posted about it on their social media, on their Instagram page. I think I saw it.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's like limited can only, or if they'll end up doing it on tap as well for a little while, because they are open for serving now, but outside only, for food and drink, I guess. But
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So yeah, because when I went there, it was last Friday when things first started opening up, and there was a ton of people sitting out on the lawn there in the chairs and everything, just hanging out. So I was like, oh, okay, I
Well,
guess
that's
they're
cool. They're
open.
open. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool. They're open.
yeah. But
Did
I'm
you
glad.
guys go out at all since they started to open anything?
I have not. I picked up takeout at Brew House last week. And the bar was closed, and the hostess, I was in line to just pick up my food, but that was because there was a family before me that wanted to get seated, and the hostess was like, to the husband, she was like, hey, can you put a mask on, since the rest of your family's wearing a mask and you don't have one, you just have your shirt over your nose and mouth. And
Yeah.
he's like, I don't have one on me. And she's like, and then the guy behind him that was in front of me was like, I have an extra mask in my truck. Let me go get it for you. And then she ends up seating them anyway. And I just like rushed to the bar to get my takeout food. And then
Yeah.
I come back and there's a huge line. And that guy that went to get the mask is in the way back of the line now. And I'm
Oh
like,
man,
that sucks for you, man. Like, I feel bad
he
for
was trying to
you.
do the right thing. I feel bad.
Exactly.
Aw.
It's just a weird situation right now. But no, I haven't really gone out. Have you, Tony?
Yeah, I went out to one place. I went out to Dockside Willie's,
Ah, that's good.
and I didn't get coronavirus, probably.
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 I went out on I guess it was Monday. I went out. My friends and I got Mexican food over at El Rodeo and some margaritas.
Nice.
So I missed like authentic Mexican food. So it was good to have that again. I'll
Was
say
that
authentic
just out?
lightly.
Was that just outside seating or inside too?
No, it was outside. Like they have a part of their
Okay.
parking lot taped off, and
Oh,
like some
cool.
chairs and tables out there, and under their little awning and everything. So I mean, there
Cool.
was maybe like 3 or 4 other tables of people. So it wasn't like, crowded by any means, but it was also like a Monday evening, so I'll take that into account too.
Yeah, exactly.
But the food was good. The margaritas were, as always, excellent. So I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it was nice to get out, and like I, gave a 50% tip to the waitress, because these people have been out of work for months, and like now they're coming back, and people are like, I don't want to say like people are demanding that places reopen, but they kind of are, and they have to be put on this like front line in a way that they're exposing themselves to people who might not want to follow rules, like with masking and things like that, and protecting others. And then, I would feel bad if like you had to work a really shitty paying job and then you ended up getting coronavirus. So made sure
Yeah.
to give a good tip, because I came out and that person had to be there, kind of thing. So I appreciated that, and I wanted to support a local restaurant and local people working there.
Good for you. That's good advice for everyone.
Yeah,
Right now.
I really hope that people who are deciding to go out are treating that kind of in the same fashion. Like, if you have the ability to leave a decent tip, you don't have to leave 50%, or, or if your local businesses are reopening, make sure you go support those smaller businesses and family owned kind of places, because it's been a couple months, and
Absolutely.
they might not be in the worst place ever, but they're definitely not in the best place. So if you can support them like that, then I highly recommend that you do that.
Absolutely. And I'm always a 20-25% tipper being a bartender,
Oh yeah.
for 3 years. But you
Definitely.
saying but you saying 50% makes me be like, you know what? Next time I do go out, I probably will tip more than 25%.
Oh yeah.
Just because, yeah.
Yeah, that's my rule
As
too.
long as they're good,
Mhm.
like as long as they treat me fine and they're not all like, man, I hate life and this and that, then you'll get the 20%, even though you hate life and you're not treating us nice. But yeah, usually I guess after a hiatus of not working, uh being a waitress or waiter, like, or bartender, like, you'll want to please the customer. But
Yeah,
who knows? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck
Cool.
to everybody out there who's coming back to that. So I
Yes.
hope you are safe and well, and people are
Me too.
tipping you better than they should.
Me too.
All right. Well, should we get into our topic, gentlemen?
Please.
All right. Well, today's topic, we are on drum roll
Boom, 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 boom.
episode number 50, the big 50. So we decided
Number 50. Womp, 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 womp.
the
My
hype is
dog's in my
real.
face.
The hype is real. So we decided to go all in on one of our collective favorite games, I'll say. I think I can say that
Yes.
for everybody.
Absolutely.
So we are talking today about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And yes, we'll focus mostly on the initial release, but we'll also touch on, all the sequels and the offshoots and everything up until our most current situation, which is now that the next release is going to be next year, and it's going to be a remake of the first two.
Yes.
So I think we're all pretty stoked about that.
Super exciting
So
news
let's
for the first two. Yeah.
yeah, so let's get into it. If
All
you
right.
have been living under a rock for the past 20 some years, uh, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was a skateboarding game that had multiple levels and characters and customizable options and a fixed third person view camera. And the goal of the game was to do tricks and create combos to get high scores. Your tricks consisted of different variations of grabs and flips and slides. The manuals were eventually added, but not until the second iteration, just due to the time constraints that they had when they were creating the first game. Another trick that was in the first game that was super famous was the Tony Hawk's 900, which he had landed at the X Games, the Summer X Games, just a couple months before the release. And they worked really hard and still ended up putting that trick in the game, which is crazy to think that in 1999 they were that quick about getting something that had happened just a couple months before into a video game. So the modes that you had in the game, there was a free skate mode, single session, and multiplayer modes, and also the career mode, which you had a certain time to meet the goals that they had for each level listed. Meeting those goals would unlock new levels or customization for your characters. One in particular was the use of the VHS tapes that you had to collect all in one level. So you would have to skate around and do various things to get to different parts of the level to be able to get to a VHS tape that was like hovering in the air. This was actually inspired by the collecting of stars in Super Mario 64, which I did not know. And I
I
thought
did
that was
not know that either. That's really cool.
yeah. Your multiplayer mode was classic split screen, and you had a couple of games to choose from. You had graffiti, trick attack, and horse. In graffiti, you had to accumulate a high score by changing spots on the level to your own color via the use of tricks. So you'd be red and your opponent would be blue, and you had to tag the most part of the course. If a player performed a higher scoring trick on that spot that had already been marked, it would change to the other player's color. The trick attack mode was when players would accumulate the highest score by chaining tricks together. And horse is akin to the basketball court favorite. The rounds last either 8 seconds or until a trick has been made, and the player with the lowest score receives the letter in the word horse, and the first player to accumulate the entire word loses. So, this is a great single player story mode. but
Yes.
one of the best multiplayer games. What was your favorite multiplayer game mode to play?
Tony?
Horse, I think.
Yeah.
Or what? Trick Attack. What's the one where the scores add up? Trick Attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. They're all really great.
They are.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, they were all really great. One that I know from playing it recently that I didn't play this one and I was like confused by it was King of the Hill.
Oh yeah.
Are you guys familiar with that one? Can you
Yeah, that
explain
one
that one?
came in, I think, maybe in 2 or 3.
Okay, yeah, I was playing Underground, so
Oh yeah, maybe it was under. Yes, but King of the Hill was in there.
where you had to what? What did you have to do? Like
Um,
hold a certain spot or something?
yeah, I believe so. I think
Okay.
you had like a certain spot and then you had to score like the highest score to keep it or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I haven't played that one for a while.
Yeah. So besides that one, which I didn't know about, I loved them all. Graffiti was a great game. I was just playing that last weekend with a buddy of mine and absolutely dominating it. He couldn't do an ollie for the life of him, which
Oh god.
sounds like me in real skateboarding life. Um, and then horse, yeah, you can change the letters up any way that you want
Yes,
to.
that was cool.
So it makes it funny, but horse is just a great word anyway because you're a hoe after the H, you're a whore after that, you're multiple whores, and then eventually you become a horse. So yeah, I that's like besides 007, I feel like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, especially for the N64, was like the epitome of multiplayer games when it came to like, let's just do a quick match, like, hey, my buddy Randy's over. Let's just do a little horse match, and see
Yeah.
who's better. Have bragging rights, on the playground
Oh
afterwards.
yeah. I agree. It's definitely one of the best multiplayer games. Like when I think about a game that I would want to play with somebody, you think of like 007, GoldenEye, you think of Mario Kart, you think of Super Smash Brothers, and
Hmm.
then Tony Hawk. It's right up
Yep.
there. My sister and I personally used to play Graffiti a lot. That was probably my favorite game mode because it was just so satisfying to watch the ground change to your color, especially when she was just done skating over one spot and I'd come in
Yep.
and do some combo and take it. It was just so satisfying to watch that change or, see the map changed to mostly you.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned the whole 900 coming out. Like Tony Hawk supposedly did the 900, hit up Neversoft and was like, "Hey, I just did this. Can we put this in before we send it to Sony?" And they said, "Yes." Like, "Thank you, Tony, for doing something insane," and it was just a perfect snowball effect. It was a perfect timing for everything because it
Yeah.
was such a big thing for skateboarding to do a 900. He was the first person to do it,
Mhm.
and
And I think it was in the X Games was in July and the game came out in September. So that was the window they were working with to put this trick in the
exactly.
game, which
And
is it's
after
crazy.
you send your game over to Sony or Nintendo or whoever, that's the final copy of it. You can't put anything more into it. So it was right before that.
Yeah,
So,
he pretty much nailed that right on the edge of the the due date. So
and I
that
think,
was pretty cool.
yeah, I think with the X Games also being so popular at the time, it really made skateboarding such a hit thing at the time. Late 90s, early 2000s, here we go. This is what every kid wants to be, as a professional skateboarder.
Right. I agree. It was up and coming. Have either of you guys ever been to the X Games before?
No, I
No.
haven't.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you want to
I
share?
think yeah, I think it was 2009. Yeah, cuz I think I just graduated high school and I have family out in California, so I went with my sister out to visit camp family
Wow.
for like a week. and we ended up just going out by ourselves and like hanging out with family and doing stuff. And it just so happened that the X Games was at that point in time, and I was super into skateboarding and stuff, so I've always wanted to go see it. So we ended up going to the X Games in 2009 in the summer. I think it was like a July date or something like that, maybe late June. I mean, I didn't watch like anything big at that point. I think the day that we went, or like however we got in, it wasn't like, big names were out doing vert tricks or anything, but like we saw some street skating, we saw a little bit of vert stuff, and we saw some like motocross, I think, as well.
Oh, cool.
But it was a cool experience, like just being there and like being in the element, and just watching all these people go out there and give it their all on the court, so to speak. But
Yeah,
it was super cool.
that
Definitely
sounds
a
fun.
memorable moment. So if you
Yeah.
ever have a chance, go to the X Games.
Are
um
they still doing it?
yeah, they
Okay.
do still do it. I don't usually, if I see it on TV or something, I'll watch it, but I don't think I've ever like actively, like, not since I was maybe like 15 years old, like sought out to watch the actual X Games on TV, like as it was happening.
Yeah.
So
Oh, cool.
So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater blasted onto the scene September 29th, 1999, launching on the PS1 before eventually getting ported to N64, Game Boy Color, Dreamcast, and the N-Gage in March of 2000. The original game was developed by Neversoft and published by Activision. Neversoft at this time had just completed Apocalypse, which was a third-person shooter based on the movie of the same name starring Bruce Willis, and they had also mapped Bruce Willis into the game as well. So the Neversoft was a 12-man team at that time and had not made a sports game yet. But Activision saw a growing market in the skateboarding games. Like we had said, there was a growing interest in skateboarding in the 90s. It was really coming to fruition, and they decided to partner with them on this project. But before Pro Skater, there were tons of skateboarding games on the market, but none of them really captured the sport that well. Some well-known titles are Skate or Die, 720, Street Skater, and Top Skater. The developers cited Top Skater as a source of inspiration for Pro Skater. They would frequent a bowling alley across the street from their office and play that arcade cabinet, and they used the information from studying and playing this game to keep an arcade-style feel in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which I personally enjoyed, the ability to have a quick game, so to speak, and then come right back, like you would in an arcade without sacrificing all your recorders and you're sitting at home on your couch. But in development, the game's engine is basically a modified version of that of Apocalypse, and the game's prototype actually used the Bruce Willis character on the skateboard. So when Activision decided that they needed the biggest name in skateboarding on board, they contacted Tony Hawk, and he listened to their pitch, was impressed by their dedication to the sport, and using the footage from X Games and skate tapes to really capture how they skated. And he ended up playing this prototype and skated around as Bruce Willis, which I personally would love to see.
Yes.
Tony signed on the dotted line then and gave his name and likeness to the game. Activision eventually brought an offer to the table after that of a one-time buyout for the permanent use of his name and likeness on the game. He turned that down and went with a royalty deal instead, which he would earn a percentage for every copy sold. And as a result, he would earn 10 times Activision's initial offer within 2 years due to the wild success of the game. Eventually, he got a check for a cool $4 million, and I'm sure he patted himself on the back for turning down that first offer, which is super cool. And with that, they continued working on the games in hopes to make it for the Christmas season. In animating the skatering game, the design team largely depended on using the video footage as reference and the incorporation of the motion capture, like they did with Bruce Willis in Apocalypse, which was still in its infancy. Along with Tony, there was also a group of other professional skaters included as playable characters based on their skills, personalities, and diversity that he helped handpick. So, like Tony, each skater received a cut of the royalties, got to select their own attire and special trick for the game as well. What was your guys' go-to character to use in Tony Hawk?
Mine was Bam Margera, just because I was a huge fan and idolized him in CKY and Jackass and all the other weird stuff that he did at the time, just like acting a fool.
Yeah, I liked him. I think Mike Vallely was one.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the guy that like got into fights all the time?
Yeah, I can't remember all
Yeah.
the.
Rodney
also was-
Mullen.
Yeah,
Mike
Rodney Mullen
Mike V was also he was on the soundtrack actually because he had his band Mike V and the Rats,
Yeah,
and they put them on almost every game. One of their songs on almost every game, which was cool.
Yeah, I actually like talking about CKY and Jackass. I actually had a group of kids, like including myself, not kids. We were all kids. Probably 6th grade, 7th grade. My parents helped me buy a tape recorder. It was like a high 8 tape recorder. So it was like half digital, half tape. You could plug it into your computer, but it still recorded off of a small little tape. And we were called the Crazy Crew, TCC. So our I literally have like probably 20 hours of us doing crazy shit. So
That's awesome.
my boss Dave, he was part of it. He was a snowman killer. So during Christmas time, we'd go around and record him kicking down like giant snowmen or any snowmen in anyone's yard. He would just kick them down. He would suplex them and everything.
Oh my God.
This kid Dewey was the one that would like do backflips and front flips off of like high buildings, like rooftops into bushes and stuff. I pooped off of a gym once, like a gymnasium. So I would jump into bushes too, but I wasn't like a front flipper or back flipper.
But it doesn't matter because you prefaced it with you pooped off of a building.
Yeah, I did that a couple times. So our beginning. So our beginning song was we're the crazy crew, we piss and poo, we do stunts too, and so should you.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Why did they allow children to have cameras in those times?
Yeah, we just idolized them. Yeah. We did some dumb stuff on camera, and I would love to actually find those tapes and get them digital.
I low-key want to see that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I remember the poop that I did, and it was like really long off this off this playground set.
Oh my God. I don't even like I want to know, but I also don't want to know anymore.
No, you don't.
That's funny. Dude, I remember though, like being in like middle school when Viva La Bam was at its height and CKY was pretty prominent and everything, and like we're not that far from where Bam lived. So I remember like kids being like, yeah, I'm just gonna go show up at his house or whatever. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know if they ever did or if they were just bullshitting, but like
probably bullshitting, like, just like their uncle,
probably
the manager of Nintendo, you know.
Yeah. I mean, probably, but like I just thought it was so funny that was like such a like big thing, and people around here were just like, I'm just gonna go drive to Bam's house and like ride in his Lambo. I'm like, no, you're not though.
supposedly he's fine with that nowadays. I just watched a YouTube video of him, and he's given his code online, like to his gate code to like enter his driveway, and he's like, as long as you're down to skate, hang out, have fun, just don't steal from me, we'll be cool.
That's nice of him.
Yeah. So he is that type of person nowadays. Like I think he's off the booze. Yeah, he's off alcohol.
He's been on and off. Yeah.
He's been skating. He's like, this is what I need to do. It's skate or die. Like if I don't skate, then I'm just gonna booze and I'm gonna die. So
yeah,
I'm skating now, and everyone's welcome to skate with me as long as they're good people.
That's dope. Yeah, I like to play him when I guess it was like Underground that he started showing up on the games. I liked playing him. He was definitely one. I also often chose Alyssa streamer because that was the only chick in the game, and it
Exactly.
was like, well, I can play. Yeah, I would play Rodney Mullen, or I would play, Tony Hawk or Kareem Campbell or whatever. But I liked playing her too because I was like, let's give some chick love here. Give me a fist bump through the screen kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I got you, girl. And she was pretty dope too, though. Like the fact that she was the first female to be like recognized through that. Like there were
Yeah.
girls on the scene, but she like made it onto there, which was, and it was also cool of Tony to be like, yo, let's get a chick on here too. So
Absolutely. I think
yeah,
that was ahead of his time too, because you don't see that, like with the NBA, you're not going to see a female basketball player on the NBA,
well,
but
it's
like
because there's the WNBA.
yes, I know. But they don't, I mean, do they make WNBA basketball games?
I don't know if they ever did, but
I
they
don't think
probably
they have.
should.
So I think it's really cool, that skateboarding as a game and just as a sport in general is like accepting of anyone. It's like, all right, yeah, you're a woman, cool. Let's come skate with us guys. Like
Yeah, if you can hang, you're good to
exactly.
go.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was also cool that like you could, depending on what you wanted to do, like with that run or what you needed to achieve or whatever, you could switch your character to get, if you needed more height, you could switch to a more vert sided character. If you needed to do more combos or like extend your combos and you needed to run some manuals or whatever, switch to like somebody who's more street, and you could have that balance or whatever, like that was the other thing, is it was very versatile. Like you could stick with one person if you wanted, or if you needed to switch to a different kind of, like stat, you could switch to a different character and they would have a different stat to help you achieve whatever goal you were trying to go for.
Who was the character for his special he brought out the boombox? Was that Ronnie Mullen?
Mm,
Do you
I
know,
don't think
Tony?
so. I don't
I
think
don't
so.
I
I
don't
don't
think
remember
so.
really though.
But I'm trying to remember who it was and I can't.
Okay. Don't worry about it.
It might
So
come
what
to me.
so what do you think about Tony Hawk getting that $4 million royalty check as his first check from the game? Like, think about that. Like, how
Yeah.
much do you think Activision or Neversoft offered him?
Well, their one-time buyout was not a lot. If I can't remember the exact number, but that first offer that they were like, "Well, we'll just buy your name out essentially."
Like
And
100K or something or what?
yeah, it was something like that, and it was like you could just do that and then be done and wash your hands of it and go back to skating. But he kind of thought about it,
Nah,
and I guess as like more, he thought about it more as like an investment too, which was smart
absolutely.
of him at the time. I don't
Oh
know
my
if a lot
god.
of people would have had that thought process and just been like, "Ooh, that's a lot of money. I'll take that and walk." But I'm glad that he did that, and I think that's also why it continued to go the way it did, because he had his hand in the pot for so long. Like Tony was there giving his opinion on every game and what was
Absolutely.
happening, on every game, um this whole time essentially. So that was
Absolutely.
cool, and I'm glad that he chose that option, because it would have been probably a whole different ball game if he took that and walked away.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
so getting on to the rest of it, with that September release they made, the game was met with tons of positive reactions. I think I looked it up. It's a 92 on Metacritic. Um, it was the third
Wow.
highest selling PlayStation title of November 1999 in the United States, and it
Oh
shipped
wow.
350,000 units nationwide from the release date in September to December 1999. So that was like a huge thing. And that holiday season, like, just, I think they picked the right time for that too. That was excellent choice. So after the success of that PS1 title, on March 15th, 2000, it was ported to the N64 by Edge of Reality, who had just ported Monster Truck Madness 2 also to the N64. It was the same as the PS1 version, except they had removed the blood effects, like when you would fall on your board and there'd be like a little red spatter because you would have hurt yourself. They took that out, I guess, to make it more family friendly because Nintendo. On May 24th, 2000, by a fledgling Treyarch who would later become known for Call of Duty. They made the Sega Dreamcast port. The Dreamcast port was known for the better graphics and animations compared to the PS1 and N64 versions, but essentially basically the same game as the PlayStation title. And then they had a Game Boy Color version as well, which was developed by Natsumi and released on March 30th, 2000. This was a little different, more of an adaptation than a true port because of the limited capacity of the Game Boy Color system. So it had like two different gameplay styles. You had like an overhead view with vertical scrolling, and you had like a side scrolling view, there was a ramp on either side. And then you had 4 game modes that you could really only do a couple tricks. In half pipe mode, you could just attempt to achieve the highest score. Tournament mode was 5 levels vertically scrolling, which you race against 3 computer skaters and try to win. And they kind of like made jumps automatic, so you would just kind of maneuver around. And if you did a trick, it was just like a static image. You weren't like doing a trick on the game. And then there was a verse mode and a rival mode, and they're the same as tournament mode, where you had to like kind of race, but you could play a single level against a single opponent, which would be a computer in rival mode, or you could link up with your friend on a link cable in verse mode. And then they had a lesser known port, which was for the Nokia N-Gage. I don't personally know a ton about the N-Gage, but it was basically like a cell phone video game kind of hybrid that they were trying to promote at that point. But it was developed by IdeaWorks 3D and released on October 13th, 2003, a week following the launch of the N-Gage. Was basically a launch title for this phone game. It was essentially a port of the PlayStation version with most of the characters, levels, and the control scheme and the original music, while also adding some levels from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 because that was out at this point. And also 2 multiplayer games, which you could link up with a friend because the N-Gage had a Bluetooth feature, which if you were in range, you could play together on certain games, I guess.
Interesting.
So what port did you guys like play a lot or grow up with?
For me, it was a N64 port. It was that blue cartridge, that beautiful blue cartridge. Played the hell out of it. Absolutely loved it. I was never a PlayStation kid at the time. I'm more of a PlayStation man nowadays. But
Grew into it.
yeah, there's something about CDs that I didn't like back in the day. You know, when actual CDs came out, I was still on the tape cassette borrowing tapes from my sister, you know. So yeah, I was a cartridge gamer all the way. So yeah, definitely the N64 versions. The Game Boy Color and the N-Gage had the worst gameplay for
Yeah.
Tony Hawk 1. It was
Mhm.
so bad. It was every time you did a trick, any trick, it would go into a cutscene to what trick you did. It was like indie, and it's like it shows like a colored like a kid drew it of like a skateboarder doing an indie.
Yeah.
And then it would go back to the gameplay. It was like so dumb.
Yeah.
So prehistoric when it came to video games. But also with the N64 version being ported from the PS1 version, what I've realized was that the songs on it, because it was cartridge based, they actually had to dumb down the songs a lot and take away a bunch of like either the lyrics where it was just like instrumental or shorten the songs. I know Goldfinger song was like the one that they kept uh the same, you know, as the original. They wanted that to be like the song that kept Tony Hawk going, you know, Superman, right?
Yeah. And it
Yeah,
is. It
it
is
is.
quintessential.
It's a great song.
Yes, we will definitely touch on the soundtrack later because that is super crucial. That's cool
Tony,
that
yeah, Tony, what did you play?
PlayStation.
Okay. PS1 version.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Tony's in the right category here. I
Probably the better category too,
Yeah,
right?
I gotta go with I was also growing up. My friend had a PlayStation. My cousin had a PlayStation. I did not, but I remember going to my cousin's house and we would play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I think it was at that point it was probably 2 and 3, maybe 4, from the time that we were playing it. But that's what it really hooked me there on that, like when we would go over and we would just hang out for a couple hours, or like, a family event or a holiday or whatever, just go in the basement and play video games, and we would play Tony Hawk for forever, because you could just there was so many options with all the mini games and everything. You could play together, you could take turns, running, just career mode or whatever. It was cool. And that's like, I just remember that was my first like memory of it. That was the port that I'd played it on, And eventually when I got my Game Boy Color, I remember I got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for the Game Boy Color because my mom knew I liked to play it at my cousin's house. So I think I probably got it for like Christmas or my birthday or something. It's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing like the real games. Like
Oh yeah.
those Game Boy Color versions are barely a Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but I still played the heck out of that one. So it was good.
Yeah. Good. They're
What
barely playable,
oh yeah.
honestly, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean now they are, but back then that was what we had, and that's what I made do with, and I don't know, I made it fun.
Yeah.
What are your earliest memories of playing the Tony Hawk games?
I mean, for me, it was just like I said earlier, it was that game that I had that I would invite a friend over to be like, hey, let's play this, let's have a sleepover and let's play the hell out of this game, or vice versa. They would invite me over and we play that game. Whereas, like, 007 was out, it was like, let's have a big party and have 4 people over, 6 people over, and let's all play this game. Tony Hawk was more like a personal one-on-one friendship game to me.
Yeah. Tone, how about you? What was your earliest memory?
My earliest memory was, I forget how old I was, but going over, I guess that's when I just started skateboarding. And then I went over to a friend of mine's house. We skateboarded out in the street, and then we came in and played Tony Hawk. And that was it. And
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
What kind of tricks were you doing?
Not many tricks, probably mostly like ollies and pop shove-its, maybe a couple of 50-50s on the box, but
Hell yeah. Kelly, how about you?
Yeah, my earliest memory was just going over to my cousins and playing. That's what started that. Like, and it was just, I guess you could say, downhill from there. Because after that, I was playing on my Game Boy, and eventually my sister and I got the Underground 1 and 2 for our PlayStation 2, and I can't tell you how many. I mean, I could look at the memory card and tell you how much file I have on there, but
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many hours we sunk into that game together, like both of those games. Like, I probably beat those games like 3 times over each. Like,
Nice.
as a kid, those were my favorites. Like, I played them so much. So those were my early memories. Tone, you said that you were out there skateboarding, but were you inspired to skateboard by this game at all?
Hell
Or
yeah.
before that at all?
Absolutely. Especially like watching CKY and Jackass and all that. Definitely down a skateboard. I was in the skateboard culture and scene back in middle school, wearing my Janko
Yeah.
jeans.
Oh God.
Had that silver big chain necklace. It probably wasn't even actual silver.
Did you spike your hair up?
I spiked my hair up with gel,
Oh, yeah.
that special gel.
Mm-hmm.
I
The
had
blue stuff.
I had bleached blonde hair too
Oh
because I
my
was
God.
into Eminem back then. I had braces as well, which doesn't really matter. But yeah, big baggy jeans, big Fila Ralph Lauren polo shirts, So I was like a hybrid between a jock and a skater kid. Um, I remember having like anarchy sweatbands like for my wrists
Dude, I
that had
totally had one of those too.
yeah,
I had
right?
an
Yeah.
anarchy sweatband. Yep.
It is the epitome of hey, I am an anarchist and I'm also 13 years old.
Fuck the
I live
system, man.
yeah, I live with my parents, but I hate them and I hate that I have to live with them.
Also, I'm middle class, I'm white, and I'm in
Yep.
suburbia. So fuck the
Yeah.
man. Yeah. No,
Yeah, fuck the man for
100%.
sure.
Yeah, man, that
Uh
sounds like copy paste my middle school. Oof.
yeah, I probably had a chain connected to my wallet for a little bit too at some point.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, I was just
Big
killing the
pimpin'.
game. Yeah, I was
Big
killing the
pimpin'.
game. Yeah, everyone just wanted to be like me for the longest time.
Oh my god,
uh,
dude.
but yeah, no,
Oh,
when it came to skateboarding, I was not good at it. I was all about the sculpture. I was all about the culture, um, but sucked at skating. Uh, I love the shoes though. The shoes were the biggest thing.
mm,
IPAs, DC, uh, was
Etnies,
Orion,
America.
Etnies,
mhm.
yeah, America,
Lakai. Yep.
yeah, all of them, man. They were so cool. You go into a fishbone store, you talk to the stoner kid behind the counter. You're like, I need some new shoes, and he's like, you gotta get these iPads. They're cool. They got these little pockets that you can store things in. Wink, wink. And you're like, all right, cool.
You're talking
That's what
over
I
the
want to
glass
do.
pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all right, cool. If you're wearing that, I'm gonna wear it too.
Mhm. And they
Um,
all had like the iPads all had like the little Rasta colors on them somewhere,
yeah.
like hidden
Some
in
were
there.
like actual like canvas or hemp.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, absolutely loved the culture of it. Was I good at skateboarding? No. Probably couldn't ever ollie, but I was really good at manualing. Actually, I don't know if you guys like ever got into manualing. That was all I was good at. But
Oh,
I was able to do like 6 to 8 parking spots
mhm.
widthwise in
There you
manualing. So
go.
I was actually like really good in that sense. Just manualing though.
So
Kickflip, no.
you were more of a street dude.
I could pop shove it. I could do a
Okay.
360 pop shove it, but ollie, I couldn't even really ollie, for the life of me. Yeah.
All right. I feel
How about
that.
you guys?
Tony, you said that you were out skating in the street and
Yeah, I can still do
shredding the gnar.
kick flips and I can still do a decent bit of tricks, nothing crazy.
Bro,
But
do a
yeah, I went
kickflip right
hard.
now.
I could definitely do a kickflip right now. I
All right.
guarantee it.
Do it, you won't.
Yeah, I skated for a long time. So
Did you ever do any like staircases, like ollied
yeah,
off of any
yeah.
staircases? What was the
Yep.
biggest staircase that you did?
Not that big, dude. I was kind of a bitch
Like
when it came
3?
to that. No, like 4 or 5 probably.
I mean, that's still pretty
That's pretty good.
Three
tall. You
you
got
can
it.
like ride off of, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it depends
I,
on
I
like
mean,
how steep they are too and everything, but yeah.
I think I did 2 was my top for skateboarding. But
Yeah,
I
I probably
mean,
did like one.
if we talk BMXing, I was up to like 8, I think. And
I
I would
never
pop my
I
tires
never
every
got on
time.
that one.
Yeah.
So what was your brands of choice there, Tony? Like for your shoes or your outfit or your board or whatever, what was your brands?
Um, damn, I can't. So the boards
Describe
that I
it.
liked a lot. Well, it was always black and white that they did. I can't remember. It's not Zero. It was something else. Man, I can't
Uh
remember now. Bummer. But like America shoes, Etnies shoes, Vans, of course.
Mhm.
Um, and then girls jeans from Aeropostale mostly.
Oh my god.
like
uh,
actual girl jeans. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Not like Girl
I've
the brand.
yeah, cuz wasn't girl a
still is.
Girl was
brand?
a skateboarding brand,
Still is.
yep.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Yeah, I
That's
rocked the
wild.
girl jeans too for a while.
I forgot to ask you, Bo, what was your brands?
So the last skateboard that I had, I remember actually purchasing because I purchased it from King of Prussia Mall at the Vans store, where they actually have like a 10 or 12-foot half pipe inside the store.
Oh wow.
So if you buy a complete deck, you get a half an hour session for free on the half
Oh.
pipe. And me being at the time probably 14 or 15 now, this was the last skateboard that I bought. Probably the first one that I bought complete that it wasn't like a hand-me-down. I spent a pretty penny on it. I think like 160, 180 bucks. I got a blind deck. I got clear grip tape. So the grip tape was pink in the sense because the board was pink on the top. I had Venture trucks. I had blind gel wheels, and I had Lucky ABAC 7 bearings. I can't believe I remember all this.
That's great.
I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, even though it's always a bagel every morning. But yeah, I'm surprised I remember that.
Oh, man, you're crushing it. Keep going.
So
Love to
either
hear it.
way, I'm like, all right, cool. I got a half an hour free session. Cool, strap me up. I've never ridden a half pipe before, but let me do it today. So they didn't give me any instruction or anything. My mom's there with me. I just spent 180 bucks on this brand new board. Lucky ABAC 7 bearings are like the fastest bearings too, which they recommended for my young ass, fat ass too. And so I go to the top of this half pipe and I drop in and slam it right back on my face. And I'm like,
God.
cool. My mom's like, go, Bo, keep going. Just try again. So I climb back up, slam it right back into my face again. And luckily I'm wearing a helmet, but I do it probably like 25 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've said this on the podcast before, maybe in an earlier episode, but eventually these kids that were way younger than me, like an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old come, and they're grinding on this half pipe. Like they're going back and forth, dropping in, and I just keep slamming my face into the ground, and my mom's like cheering me on to keep doing it. And eventually I was so upset at this that I don't think I really skateboarded ever again after this. Like I had the skateboard for a little bit, I manualed with it a lot, and then I was like, I'm done. Fuck skateboarding, I'm gonna play Tony Hawk instead.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's a sad story.
It is a little sad, right? It's a little
like
depressing. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I didn't mean to be sad about it, but yeah, I just
No,
wasn't
but
like
it's just
balanced
like,
or anything.
yeah, it's just like, you were hyped and you bought
Yeah.
this with your hard-earned money as a kid, and then like it was just like nobody kind of was like, yo man, let me give you a tip, and you were
No.
just like embarrassed.
And these kids were showing me up, and I was
That's
like,
that's no fun.
great.
Nobody was
Yeah.
like lending you a hand. Well, it's also because it's fucking King of Prussia probably, but
Yeah, that's
whatever.
They probably love seeing it.
Yeah, man, I was deep in it too. I was 100% like hanging with the kids who were like the skaters and the punks and the goths and whatever. That was my crew that I rolled with in middle school for sure. But yeah, I used to skate my neighborhood with a friend, and I remember like skating on some like Toys R Us board that I had bought with my own money when I was like 12 or 13. And like skating the hell out of that, and then eventually like my parents weren't like super into me like doing it because they were always like, oh, you're gonna fall and die or something, but like I enjoyed it. I liked, you could ride down the hill and get the speed and feel the wind in your hair kind of thing, and it was really fun. And I could ollie, I could pop shove it, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But it was super fun, and my friend and I used to go out and just like skate, and like I'd bring like a camera, like I had a film camera or like a disposable camera, and we'd take some shots, or like take the video camera out and shoot some footage or something of us just like dicking around in the neighborhood. Or like he had like a little like ramp or something at his house, that like a little quarter pipe that we used to play around with. And yeah, I remember doing that. And then one time eventually like he was getting boards and stuff because he was like way into it, and the one time he just ended up being like, here, I'm done with this board, you can have it, kind of thing. I have another one, and it was like my first real deck that I had, and it was really cool. And it was the deck itself was a Plan B deck, and the bearings, I believe, were independent, or I mean the trucks were independent. I don't remember what the bearings were, and I had Spitfire wheels, and
Nice.
I fucking still have it in my garage. No shit.
Nice.
That was
Yeah, I
like,
sold mine.
yeah, I kept that, and I would, like, if I wanted to just like ride up and down, the street or something, just like take it out or whatever, and just ride on it, because it's just so much fun to just go. And honestly, it was like a couple of weeks ago, I took it out of the garage, and I was like, I wonder if I can still do anything. And I can still ollie, but my pop shove-its are out the window.
Yeah.
I tried those. I was trying in the grass because I was like, I doubt I can do it like moving right now. Like,
Yeah.
let's just start simple, because my old ass is gonna fall and crack my skull on the concrete or something. But yeah, that was my deck. I still do consistently wear Vans. Those are like the most comfortable shoes, in my
I was
opinion.
never a Vans person.
Always a Vans person. I will die by the Vans, die by the checkered and the waffle print shoes.
Yeah.
But my like favorite brand, because I actually ended up getting shoes from them too eventually. I think I was like 15 when I bought the shoes. But Element, that was my go-to brand. I loved, well, also Bam was an Element person, but I just
Yep.
loved like the idea that they had behind it, like the earth is here and we're all just like living on it, like let's take care of it. And I thought they made cool looking stuff. I liked their logo. So I used to have like, I think I still do have the Element shoes, and I used to have like Element shirts and stuff. And I loved them. They were super cool. Still do. That'd be super sick to get. And like, I kind of was like thinking about, it's summer, it's nice, it's quarantine, we can't really go anywhere. Maybe I should get a new deck and see if I can get back into it and just
I
give it a
mean,
shot.
just go off the old deck that you have.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a little worn, but yeah, I'm trying to like up that, like, to use that one for a while and see if I can get the hang of it again, and
Yeah.
maybe with my adult money treat myself to something that's probably more fit for me and
Yeah.
give it a real shot, kind of thing.
Maybe a longboard if you just
Yeah.
want to ride. Yeah.
I borrowed my cousin's longboard for like a summer one time, and I had a hell of a lot of fun with it. But we live in an area that's not really conducive to longboarding.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, but yeah, I'm glad that we all were kind of in on the culture too. So
Absolutely.
we know where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But let's get back to the game itself. So after the initial release of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, the Tony Hawk series continued on with Neversoft through their 2007 release of Tony Hawk's Proving Ground. And they released multiple games across all these systems, like PS1, PS2, PSP, N64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, DS, Xbox, and even on the PC. The newer generation games on the Wii, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, and PS4 were under Robomodo, and we'll get into that later. But there were 8 initial sequels after the release in 1999. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was released in 2000, Pro Skater 3 in 2001, and Pro Skater 4 in 2002. And those essentially were all like the same thing. So we'll kind of get into like a breakdown of each, and we can unpack what each game had. And then the Underground started in 2003, 2004, American Wasteland 2005, Downhill Jam and Project 8 in 2006, and then finally the Proving Ground in 2007. After 2007, they kind of were like, the franchise is suffering from this product fatigue from putting out a Tony Hawk game literally every year since 1999. And then Activision decided to dedicate most of the Neversoft team, which was before, when they started, it was 12 people, had now gotten to 150. So there was a huge growth in that, just due to the fact that this game was doing so well, the series was doing so well. So they took those people and delegated them out to the Guitar Hero and Call of Duty franchises, which were up and coming at that point. So that marginalized Neversoft, which was basically defunct and completely merged with Infinity Ward by 2014. So now you won't see a Neversoft game. But the control of the franchise had passed on to Robomoto in 2008, which they would bury into the ground essentially at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But before Robomoto fucked it all up, the games that Neversoft had released each brought different things to the table for the franchise. So, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 introduced the manuals. Like I said earlier, they didn't have time to put the manuals in the first game just because of the time constraint they had to get it out before the Christmas season, that first game. So, basically, the manuals would, you would balance your board to continue your combos between, going off of a rail or a ramp or whatever. Pro Skater 3 introduced the revert, which again would make your longer combos from manuals even longer now because you could flip your board and that would continue your combo. And Pro Skater 3 was also the first PS2 game to feature the online gameplay, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pro Skater 2X was a release for the Xbox. That was like a compilation of the first two games because the Xbox console didn't see a Tony Hawk release until Pro Skater 4, essentially at that point. So after Pro Skater 4, they went into the Undergrounds, and Underground kind of broke the mold of the previous four games and was considered somewhat of an adventure game at that point because you follow your character, which is whatever you wanted to make it, and his friend Eric Sparrow, who was crazy, on their quest to become professional skateboarders. And then essentially, I mean, I shouldn't say spoiler alert because you should play this game, but
Yes.
Eric stabs you in the back because he's a fucking douche canoe, and but you come out okay. So fuck Eric Sparrow. But this one's different from the others because you are also this amateur skater in a true story mode with like a plot. So the other ones you were kind of just going around collecting shit, and this is actually like following a plot. One reason you had a completely customizable character instead of a like a professional skater was because there were certain criminal acts in this game that wouldn't reflect well on these skaters in the real world, so they had to kind of make it so they wouldn't be affiliated with these video game crimes they were committing, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, they also expanded your customization, like your character customization was huge, and your outfits and your boards and stuff. And they also had a face scanning thing for the PlayStation 2 version. You could take a picture of yourself, email it to Activision or whatever, and then they would like scan it in so you could actually be in the game, like your face could be in the game. I never did that, but that's such a weird cool thing to have.
Yeah.
And then they had the park editor, which you could basically make a park like whatever you wanted to skate on, which I spent a ton of time in park editors, so that was super cool. Also in Underground, the levels were significantly larger than those of the earlier game, and they were modeled closely to real world locations, whereas before it was just like school, hangar, warehouse. It was just kind of like, okay, this is what a warehouse looks like. This was like, you're in New Jersey. Oh, that is what New Jersey looks like.
Yeah.
So there was that ability to explore these levels as well. They had the introduction of foot travel, so you could get off of your board and walk around, and you could climb along ledges as well. And also in that one, you had like I think there was like a handful of like driving missions. So it was like a kind of break in the action from skateboarding. You had to like do a couple of missions that involved you driving a car, which was interesting. This was also the first Tony Hawk game to have difficulty settings. So they had 4 difficulty settings in the story mode because the other ones were just basically, like an arcade kind of thing. There was no reason to have a difficulty setting. Underground 2 was basically a direct sequel, but the story mode was focused on the pranking styles of Bam Margera, and the World Destruction Tour and his fellow Jackass co-stars made appearances as well. So you had like Steve-O and Wee Man showing up in the game, and they went all around the world. American Wasteland was an open world story mode set in the city of Los Angeles, where the player is a character trying to renovate a rundown skate park. So you basically skate around trying to collect stuff to make this skate park happen. This game was advertised with it was supposed to be one huge comprehensive open world, but it was actually just a bunch of different levels, and they resembled different areas of Los Angeles, but they were connected through loading tunnels to make them appear consecutive. But basically, you'd just be skating through this tunnel for like an extended period of time. You're like, yeah, we're definitely loading. You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting game for sure. But they were trying to appeal to this open world thing that was just up and coming at that point. And then they also introduced the ability to ride BMX in that game. So there were certain things you could switch onto a BMX bike, and it was controlled similar to the Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX games, which were also made by Activision. Proving Ground, Downhill Jam, and Project 8 also all capitalized on the open world. Downhill Jam was basically a racing game. Proving Ground gave you the option to choose where you wanted to start your skating career from like 3 different cities and build it from the ground up. And Project 8 introduced the ability to like watch tricks unfold in slow motion, and you like could control parts of it to make sure you landed the trick appropriately. But then you had your competitor come out, Skate, which outsold Proving Ground 2-1 at that point. So Neversoft threw in the towel, and RoboMotion took over, or RoboMoto took over, and really just absolutely tanked the franchise with the release of Ride. Ride just featured this gigantic skateboard peripheral controller. If you are at any Goodwill at any point in time, I guarantee you will find a Ride controller just sitting on a shelf. And it will not have the USB dongle. It will just be this giant red freaking skateboard just sitting there. There was really no plot or an open world, and it completely had a different control system than the previous games. And you were just going down this predetermined route, trying to use your skateboard as a controller to perform tricks on these obstacles. Activision promoted this game as like the next step in the evolution of skateboarding games, but it sold so poorly and the reception was terrible. Most critics were calling this game outrageous and the controls non-functioning, and it was $120 upon release for your game and your gigantic skateboard controller. And even still after that, they released the sequel, Shred, the next year. Same concept, but with snowboarding in it. It only sold 3,000 copies in the first week in the US, so it was absolutely terrible. And they tried to save face with it by releasing a download-only remake of some of the levels of the former, like, Pro Skater 1 and 2. They called it Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. It was only on the PS3, the 360, and the PC, and it was download only. So once they were done with it, it's gone. Like, you can't get this anymore. But they kind of tried to work along with some of the former Neversoft employees, and it was bad, and they didn't do the music right, and there's just a whole bunch of problems with it. So that was really the last thing that they did until recently with their final effort with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. They worked with some of the former Neversoft employees, and they hastily developed this thing within a few months and essentially released an unfinished game with little promotion because of the licensing deal between Activision and Tony Hawk was due to expire at the end of 2015. So at this point, Tony Hawk and Activision have been working hand in hand on each of these games. Tony Hawk is getting his say in each of these games, and honestly, he was a huge supporter of the giant skateboard peripheral. He thought this was going to work. He really pushed it. He thought this was going to be the thing that would, essentially save their franchise, but it was terrible. So they pulled Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 out of their asses in September 2015. And a lot of people, I remember picking it up, a lot of people say that the graphics are like super inferior than like even earlier PlayStation games. And like it barely resembled any of the previous releases in the fact of the gameplay, and that it was buggy as hell. And the environment was super bland, and the missions were super bland as well. and there were no NPCs to talk to. Like, you could roll up into this level and it's just you in an empty building just skating. It's like, well, if I can't go up and talk to somebody and get something out of this, what's the point? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
The game was also so rushed that was unplayable without an 8 gigabyte day one patch. And you could only the tutorial and park creator were being accessible at that point in time. So by the end of that year, 2015, the license had run out and was not renewed, and Robomoto was shut down soon thereafter. So I don't know if you guys played any of the later versions. I kind of stopped playing around, I think Project 8 was the last one I had played, like when I was younger on my PlayStation 2. Like, I had all of them up to Underground 2, played the hell out of all of them, got to Project 8, picked it up, was excited, was not impressed, and kind of just died out with it there at that point. American Wasteland almost kind of turned me off. I remember getting halfway through the game and being like, I don't really know. Like, I wasn't attached to the story. The tunnels were kind of weird. I didn't really want to BMX, but I kind of had to complete stuff. It was like things were being kind of forced upon you, where I just wanted to skate around, destroy stuff, and have a good time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I dropped out. I didn't really play any of the other ones, but I did play Pro Skater 5 because I thought, oh, they're trying again. Let's give it a shot. And it was fucking terrible. I don't know if any of you guys played that, or,
No,
what.
but I mean, Pro Skater 5 though, they didn't even have the actual game, right? Like, you
Yeah.
bought the game and then you had to download a huge patch, right?
Yeah. 8 gigs. Yeah. Day one, you couldn't do anything without that patch. It was
So, yeah, for a game like that, for the world that we live in right now too, where everything's going digital, once you have that physical game and I don't know, let's say internet goes out or you don't have internet, you can't play that game. Let's say you live in Montana in the boonies, you can't play that game then if you
Yeah.
bought that.
Yeah.
Like, how unfortunate must that be? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure on the actual cover of the case, it doesn't say, hey, you need internet to actually get this actual game,
No,
because
I
there's
don't think it
nothing
did.
here.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it
just
was pretty stupid. You could just run the tutorial and make a park, and that was it, without doing this patch.
yeah. um I don't know the last game that I would have played in the lineup. Probably, I guess, Underground 2 might have been it. I don't think I've ever played any on the PS3 or PS4. But the Ride for the Wii, right? That was called
Yeah.
Ride
Yep.
with the skateboard.
Yep.
I wish I owned that. I wish I was able to try that. I've seen videos of people playing it and it looks funny, it looks weird. It was obviously an awful price point, asking $120 for it. That skateboard should have been $20, and then, a $40 game. Just make it $60, maybe $80.
Yeah.
But yeah, to ask $120, especially for a game that wasn't well done, no. But I could see why Nintendo was down for it, because they were all about motion controls and peripherals at the
Right.
time.
I think that came right off the heels of the Wii. Like, the Wii Fit board, people were having such a great time, so they thought, let's do this peripheral because you can do it on the Wii. They also made it, able to work with the 360 and the PS3, so you didn't just have to have a Wii to have a motion
Okay.
controlled game. Yeah, so that's kind of where they like branched in, which, I mean, like, that's cool, but it didn't work the way that it should have, because the price point was too high and the game was not that great.
Did you need different skateboards then for each
Well,
system?
yeah, it's kind of like a Guitar Hero, where they had a
Yeah,
different.
that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
like DJ Hero.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing. There were these giant peripherals, but you had to get a different one for each system.
I mean, I haven't looked up the price of that game, but I'm sure that's expensive nowadays.
Well, maybe with Corona it's a little bit more, but you could used to sell it for like with the game and the board. I think I sold it for like $10. Like it was,
Really?
yeah, it was not an expensive game
Wow.
at
Okay.
all. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, you can go to any Goodwill and find a ride board, but like just like with Guitar Hero, you can find any kind of wireless Guitar Hero, but the real seller is you have to find that USB dongle like receiver. So that
Gotcha.
you need to have that to be able to connect the board to the system. So that's kind of where that is too.
Yeah.
So
I also thought that the the act of being able to get off your skateboard in a skateboard game to walk around and run around sort of defeated the purpose of being a skateboard game.
yeah, I can see that, and that's where a lot of people dropped off, like from the initial 4 games. The Underground came out when you could get off your board and walk around, and they were like, "Oh fuck this, I'm out. I just want to skate." And I actually had like when I was growing up, I quite the opposite opinion actually, because I was like, "Oh, cool, I can get off my board, I can assess where I'm at, and then plan
Yeah.
out my tricks accordingly." So like that's kind of how I did it. I would get off my board, look at where I was at, look at like a line, try to identify a line and go ahead and do that first. Like, so I kind of liked the ability to get off at any point in time and stop and just like position yourself appropriately so you could get like the maximum combo you
I
could.
agree with that. I
Yeah.
definitely did that all the time.
Yeah.
All right.
Tony,
To his
where'd you drop off on yours?
Probably after Underground Remix.
Oh yeah, you were on the PSP with that one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was the last one I played.
Yeah. How do you think like the PSP version was compared to
I
any
think
of the
that was the
console
best one I
versions?
ever played,
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
because I didn't play the PSP version, but I loved the Underground 2 and 1. So I might have to try
Yeah, I
that
mean
and see
it
what.
plays like super well on the PSP.
All right. I'm convinced.
I am too now.
Definitely
So,
worth a shot.
yeah, what was your guys' favorite or most played game out of the whole series, do you think?
I would say Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for me. Especially with the manuals being added into it. You
Mhm.
could literally just make one giant combo the whole time, especially in multiplayer mode. You could literally do one giant trick and not have any score during a trick attack until the very end. So your buddy, he's at 50,000, you're at 0, but then the clock keeps going and then it ends and you're still finishing your last manual and then it goes and adds up and it's 290 50,000, and you're like, whoa, and your buddies get so angry. But you're
True.
like, yeah,
True.
motherfucker, I did one trick during this whole 2-minute session, Yeah.
True. Very true. Tony, how about you?
Again, Underground Remix. I definitely played that the most. Just it was so convenient to have it on the PSP. I
Yeah,
could always
take it with
just
you.
exactly play it wherever I was.
That's sweet.
Do you have a PSP now?
No.
Mm.
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 I think my most played might be Underground 1 or 2. It's probably a tie in there.
For what system?
PlayStation 2. Because that's
Okay.
what I had growing up. And like I said, my sister and I would just, like, we would spend a Saturday morning just playing all morning or whatever. Like, it was just hours and hours sunk into those games. Like, unlocked everything, like, did everything. Those things
Yeah.
were 100%ed. So I have so many good memories of us playing those games together. And like you said, Bo, with the manual thing, it reminded me like of all the times my sister and I would like play head to head games, if we were playing graffiti or whatever, King of the Hill or something, and she'd be out there tricking and all of a sudden times run out and I'm still over here manualing for another 2 minutes getting a combo and
Exactly.
she's sitting there fuming because my score keeps going
Exactly.
up and up and up and I'm just decimating her. and I'm just manualing, and you could do like the handstands and everything at that point.
Yep.
It was so cool. That was my favorite.
I mean, that's one of the best things about Tony Hawk Pro Skater is that the clock didn't run out as long as you were still doing moves. You
Yeah,
know,
you could take that
as long as
advantage.
you could, as long as you could keep that manual going, you were fine. And that defined like the whole game in its sense.
Hmm.
Like you could go as long as you physically were able to go, or you could ruin it all and
Yes.
die and lose your whole score.
Hmm.
It was ride or die, skate or
Yeah.
die.
Skate or die. Yeah, those manuals were essentially how I beat everybody I knew and the games, like just extending my score after the time had stopped and
Yep.
stuff like that. What do you guys think your least favorite one was?
Ooh,
I
I don't
mean,
know. Maybe American Wasteland,
yeah, I think I played
Skateland,
a little bit
whatever
of
it was.
that. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 on the PS2 wasn't that great. I can remember that being like a little frustrated about
Hmm.
it. Yeah, I mean it's hard to like remember your least favorite games.
Yeah. I just like it's weird because the it's hard to compare because they're all so different in their own ways, but they're all technically still in like the same franchise, which is weird.
Yeah, I'm sure if I played 5, I would have hated it, but I didn't. So, yeah. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean 5 was probably my least favorite since I did play it and it was
Okay.
pretty bad. But I didn't really like um Project 8 or American Wasteland too much. American Wasteland's like a teetering. I was kind of there, kind of not. But
Yeah.
I kind of see what you're saying though with Pro Skater 4 because there was some frustrating times. And like, I remember I took my PlayStation 2 to college with me, and I would be sitting in my apartment. And my one friend, Derek, would come over all the time and hang out with me because he hated his roommate that he had in this dorm. So he would basically spend all this time between me and my other friend's apartment. So he would come
Yeah.
over all the time and he'd be like, "Yo, I want to play you in Tony Hawk because I'm going to beat you." I'm like, "Dude, no, you're not." And every time he would lose. And then every time the next day he'd come back and be like, "Okay, no, I'm going to beat you today." I'm like, "No, you're not."
That's funny.
It was just like a year of me being like, "No, man, you're not going to beat me in Tony Hawk 4." And he was like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah.
And he never did.
That's
So
great.
I did like Tony Hawk 4 though. That was a good one. Um, but also the other thing about the Tony Hawk games were they were known to embrace the fun of skateboarding and of pop culture surrounding it. So you had all these secret skaters and unlockable skaters across all these games. So you had like celebrities and pop culture icons in them, like Kelly Slater, the surfer, was in Pro Skater 3. Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley of Kiss were in Underground. Like, you actually in Underground, you showed up to a Kiss concert and skated a Kiss concert, like, or you could skate as them after you did that. Jesse James was in Underground 2. Steve-O and Phil Margera in Underground 2. Wee Man. Ben Franklin was in Underground 2. That was pretty cool. And then
I
you
didn't
had,
realize that. Wow.
yeah, if you unlocked him in the Boston level, you could skate as Ben Franklin, which was pretty stoked. I like that one a lot. You had Lil Jon and Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day and in American Wasteland. Travis Barker from Blink 182 was in Project 8. MCA of the Beastie Boys was in Proving Ground. James Hetfield and Robert Trujillo of Metallica were in Pro Skater HD version. Lil Wayne was in Pro Skater 5, and Tyler the Creator was also in Pro Skater 5. And then they
That's
had,
crazy.
I know, it was super weird. They had some fictitious guests in these games as well, like I said, from pop culture and stuff. So you had, like, you could unlock Spider-Man in Pro Skater 2. Darth Maul was in Pro Skater 3. You had Wolverine in Pro Skater 3. Doom Guy was unlockable in Pro Skater 3, but only on the PC version.
I did not realize that. That's funny.
I know. I kind of wish that I could skate around as Doom Guy.
Doom Guy, Doom Guy is a first person game. Doom is a first person shooter, so you don't ever really see Doom Guy, right?
But you know what he looks like, though, because of the
Do
cover
you?
art and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
because of the cover art. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then they had Django Fett in Pro Skater 4, Eddie the Head in Pro Skater 4, Iron Man was in Underground. They had like the Swamp Monster in Underground, and Shrek was in Underground too. I used to play Shrek a lot. Um,
That's funny.
they had Call of Duty Soldier in Underground 2 at that point too, because that Call of Duty games were starting to come out on the PlayStation too.
There you go, Tony.
Nick Kang of True Crime, The Streets of LA was in Underground 2 at that point too. Also, they had like a cameo, and you could unlock to play as the Star Wars kid from YouTube in Underground
Yeah.
2. You could like skate into his house, and he was in there just like whipping the little stick around. They also had the Grim Reaper, but they called him the Grim Ripper in Project 8. They had Judy Nails from Guitar Hero in Proving Ground, King Graham from King's Quest in Pro Skater 5, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well in Pro Skater 5. So there were a lot of those. And then they had a ton of like interesting characters from different levels that were created in like the undergrounds. I remember you could play as like a shrimp seller or like a jester or whatever, like a
Yep.
cop or whatever. And then they also had like ones that were related to some of the Neversoft devs as well, that you could play or unlock with like secret codes. Did you guys have a favorite secret skater to play as on any of those games?
Tony?
No, I don't think I really did have a favorite, honestly. I like to play as the actual skateboarders.
He was playing him as
Boo.
himself, or he was playing as Tony Hawk.
I know last time that we played Underground 2 on the GameCube, Tony, I think we did the codes and stuff, and we did we unlocked all the secret characters, and Shrimp Vendor was a super funny one to
Shrimp
play as.
Vendor.
Yeah.
I love him.
Super funny because he has a huge waste of just shrimp that he's selling.
And he has like an
around him.
umbrella too, like on the top of his.
Yeah, I think so. Super weird, colorful, really cool though. Phil also, Bam Margera's dad, was funny to skate as well.
Yeah. He was funny regardless. I liked Phil.
Yeah. And then what? The first unlockable character in a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game was the cop or the rent-a-cop, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so that was great. That was amazing that you can be the cop, the guy that's chasing the skateboards around, you can be him. I forget what his special move was, but it was great. It was so appropriate at the time.
Yeah. I remember that. That was cool. And the other thing about these games is I don't remember any other game that was oh, by the way, there's secret characters that you can unlock that are
Exactly. I mean, it
funny.
had codes. It goes back to the whole code thing that Tony was talking about podcasts ago, that where have codes, secret codes, and cheats where have they gone? They're not really around anymore besides Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going online on my parents' computer on dial-up internet and going to I don't know, cheatcodes.com
Printing
or
that shit
something and
out.
printing
Yeah.
them. Honestly, when I was writing this episode up, I was opening up my cases of my games to look at some of the credits and stuff for information, and there are still the printouts from when I printed them out off my parents' computer that I just
Hell
folded
yeah.
them up and I put the codes in behind the manual. So
That's what you did back then.
yeah, they're still sitting, or the handwritten ones that I wrote down.
People love
print them
that.
out. Yeah.
When it goes back to selling video games and stuff on our last podcast, people love that. If I have codes in with the games, especially handwritten stuff from the 90s, people eat that shit up.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
I think
Who was your favorite character? Yeah.
I think my favorite I love to play as Shrek because it was so fucking weird. Shrek was just this giant green blob, and you were like, there's no way that this dude could skateboard, but then he could, and it was just so funny to watch this huge green guy just run around and skateboard everywhere. But yeah, I liked playing as him, or kind of almost I liked playing some of the random characters too in the underground games and stuff, because they were funny to off of your shrimp vendor thing, like just to watch them skate was funny.
Yeah.
So like some of the animation of like the things they were wearing or whatever would be funny to watch skate. So I played a lot of those guys as far as secret skaters.
Cool.
But the last thing I want to touch on before we talk about some other stuff is the soundtrack. Because if you ask or you talk about Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game series with anybody, they're going to bring up the soundtrack. This was
Yeah.
super nostalgic. This is, I would say, it almost formed a generation in a way of music listeners. The people who were working on the games were super careful to pick out songs and artists that captured this punk aesthetic of skaters, but there was also a ton of variability in the genres. So you had like punk to rap to ska to metal all in one skate session that you could be running. So there were a ton of bands that you probably hadn't really heard of, or maybe you heard a little bit of, or maybe they'd been out, but they hadn't really made much of a name for themselves until the playability from these games. You had bands like Dead Kennedys, Goldfinger, Primus, Suicide Machines, Suicidal Tendencies, Alkaline Trio, Papa Roach, Anthrax, Bad Religion, Johnny Cash, Disturbed, The Doors, Joy Division, Less Than Jake, Lamb of God, Metallica, Kiss, The Ramones, Rancid, Red Hot Chili Peppers, even Frank Sinatra and the Sugar Hill Gang, Violent Femmes, Ween, Dropkick Murphys, Nas, NoFX, Queens of the Stone Age, Sublime, Sex Pistols, NWA, Run DMC, Flogging Molly, Iron Maiden. You had like System of a Down, AC/DC. Exhibit was in there, Motley Crue, Scissor Sisters, and then you also had things like My Chemical Romance and Green Day and Thrice and Taking Back Sunday and Fall Out Boy that were up and coming in the scene at that point, because I remember playing these games, and also at that point, like those bands were coming out with their new albums. Like I think I was in middle school when From Under the Cork Tree came out from Fall Out Boy. That was like their big starting album, but they also had a game on, or they also had a track on a Tony Hawk series. So like they were making a name for themselves from this game, which launched their career to like where they're at now. So what do you think with the soundtrack, as far as you guys, did that help to shape your music taste in a way, or were you kind of just like, it's background noise?
So, I mean, for me, I listened to the original soundtracks for both Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 today before we recorded. And I realized that Tony Hawk 1, their soundtrack was mainly just punk, like
Yeah.
fast-paced punk music,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool. I'm not a punk fan. I enjoyed the music though. I was jamming out to. I was like, this is cool. This is great. Absolutely loved it. From Tony Hawk 1 to Tony Hawk 2, they really embrace all these different genres of music though, where it was punk, it was ska, there was rap, there was hip hop, there was rock, there was hardcore. It was a bunch of different stuff. So, I mean, I really played a lot of Tony Hawk 2 compared to 1, I think. Uh my favorite song out of all of them was Rage Against the Machine song. I forget which one it was, but absolutely love that song, and hearing it in the soundtrack I was like, "Oh yeah, here we go," and I was just jamming out. But I don't know if the soundtrack shaped the music that I liked, but I enjoyed the soundtrack so much playing the game. It just worked, especially with the first Tony Hawk. It just worked so well with the rhythm of the game that you're just skating so fast, you're grinding, you're doing kickflips, you're doing 900s, whatever. You're going so fast paced, and the music is so fast paced, so it just works so well.
Yeah, I agree with you. The As I was doing the research for this, I don't think I realized how small the track list was on
Super small.
the first couple of games where as you get to undergrounds, it's 2 pages of credits of music. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
The first game original soundtrack is only 25 minutes long,
Yeah, it's not long at all. And
which is insane.
I
I was
kind of
like, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. I kept refreshing, looking for longer soundtracks on
Mhm.
YouTube. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, they're all like 25 minutes and 9 seconds long. And it's because they're all punk songs, they're
Yep.
all 2-minute songs or 3-minute songs.
Yeah, they're quick.
Yeah.
I did the same thing when I was writing this. Like over like the past 2 days, I've been listening to like a Spotify playlist of basically all the songs from Tony Hawk's, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the Undergrounds. Like just listening to all those, and it's crazy, the amount of music that they put on the later ones compared to the previous ones, and just like you were saying, like how much they compared from the first one, they put in so many different genres on there as well.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tone? How did the soundtrack shape your music taste at all?
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
it turned me on to a lot of stuff. I was always into whatever punk rock. But I mean,
Mhm.
there's all songs on there that I probably wouldn't have heard if it wasn't for the game. So definitely
Yeah.
appreciated it and still listen to that music to this day. So
Yeah. I agree. I remember one of my memories with this is going and taking the manual out of my game and sitting down at the computer. This was I guess it must have been when Underground 2 came out, was the advent and the start of iTunes. So I went to my computer, sat down, opened the iTunes store, and typed in every song off of that soundtrack on Underground 1 and 2, and downloaded them like on iTunes. And that was how I started my music library, honestly.
Did
Was
it cost money?
I mean, yeah, I would pay for the songs. They were like 99-cent
Mm.
songs at that point. So I don't think I downloaded every song, but like all of the ones I really enjoyed between those games, I downloaded. And then I would also say that 2 other games were kind of like the same thing for me. And with this, like I really enjoyed the soundtrack, was SSX3, the
Mhm.
snowboarding game. They had a really good soundtrack. And the ATV Off-Road Fury soundtrack for ATV Off-Road Fury
hell
2, I
yeah.
think it was. I had. Yeah, it was a solid soundtrack. It was like this. It was kind of like you've got some metal, you've got some punk, you've got some rap, you've got some rock, whatever. It was just a nice mixture. And even SSX3 threw in like this electronica kind of vibe. And from there, it kind of, between these 3 games, shaped my music listening for the next 20 years. Like I turned on the soundtrack today and I was like singing along to all these songs. I remember like all of them. I would just I like it just brought back these good feelings from just listening to these songs. Like I know that where this is from and I enjoy it and like all this stuff, and I can remember
Yeah.
playing this game to this song. And so I do listen to like all these different bands and stuff still to this day, and I appreciate it all. It definitely was like a big stepping stone in how I listen to music now. Tony, did you have a favorite song? I know Bo said his.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I had one favorite. Definitely not.
No? Ah. I always liked like when I don't think it was like a favorite, but I always liked when I'd be playing Underground 2 and either Johnny Cash or Frank Sinatra like came in, and it
I
was
was
kind
gonna
of
say
like a
that Johnny Cash,
like
the
an
Ring of
yeah,
Fire or
Ring
whatever.
of Fire. It was like an
Yeah,
interruption
Yep.
almost, like because you were
yeah,
listening to fast-paced punk songs, and all of a sudden you got dun, 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 just like in the
Yeah.
background. You're like, oh, okay, I can skate to this. I'm just like riding down the street. Dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
So
I love
yeah,
it.
it was a good palate cleanse. I feel like it's a good time. Right on. All right. Well, I mean, the last, really the last part of what we can talk about with this game is, the future. We've got the remakes of Pro Skater 1 and 2 coming out for the Xbox One and PS4. What do you guys want to see from this? What are you expecting from this? Because I know I already have my pre-order in, so I'm
Do
sold.
you?
Yes. You get a little
Is it
skateboard from GameStop. I had to pre-order.
so? I don't know. Is it coming out for Xbox, PS4, and Switch, or just Xbox and PS4?
I know Xbox and PS4. I don't know if they've announced the Switch port yet.
Okay. All right. So, what I'm looking forward to for this, what I think they should do for the remake, is have all the original characters, obviously,
Mhm.
but then also have an option to change the original characters to what they look like now.
They do have that option, or they are making them aged.
Oh, they are.
They are going to make
Well,
them aged.
well, damn. All right, then I'm out of ideas. All right.
No, it's a fair thing because, like, if you look at the skaters then and you look at them now, like Steve
I
Cabello,
mean,
he's
what is
like,
it?
he's
It's
gray.
20 years
Yeah,
difference.
he's great.
Yeah.
He's like somebody's grandpa, but he's out there skating half
Yeah.
pipes every, like, man, mad respect, but like it is like 20 years later,
It
these
is.
guys have gotten older, they've gotten gray, and it's not to say that it's a bad thing, it's just an observation. Like, are you going to
Yeah.
make it so they looked like they did in 1999, or are you going to put them to 2020? And it looks like they are going to make them, they're going to keep, it sounds like they're going to keep a lot of things the same, but they are going to age them so they look like they do now, I guess.
Yeah, I would like to see, online multiplayer features that are similar to like Call of Duty, where there's a bunch of matches where you can get matched up with someone's similar skills, opposite skills, whatever, into a bunch of different variations, which I'm not sure if like the newer versions were like that, but have it, I feel like if this game is as good as how the originals were when they were released, that everyone was talking about, everyone was about it, with the online feature, we could play graffiti with a random stranger, talk shit with them, through the microphone, and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
I think that would just be a great thing to have, to be able to do online seamlessly, and maybe even like not just one on one, have it, four people playing horse at the same time.
Right. It's a good idea.
How about
Tony?
you, Kelly?
Oh, I was going to say,
Or
Tony, you got
Tony?
anything?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. It's not anything mind blowing to me, I guess. I feel like it's not going to be that different, really. But we'll
That's,
see.
yeah, I mean, I am also hoping that it's not different, like
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah,
So I'm
definitely.
kind of in the same boat where,
I
I'm
think it'll
not,
look better.
yeah, I want it to look better, but I
I
want it to
hope it
be the
looks
same
better.
game. You would hope so. No, they just ported
I would hope
PS1
so, yeah.
graphics to the PS4. No,
I hope they downgrade it.
they downscale the whole
Yeah.
thing back to PS1. So they joke.
I hope it's like 16-bit, honestly.
They take it back all the way to 8-bit. They're like, this wasn't even a
Yes,
thing,
all the
and we're
way.
taking
Yep.
it all the way back.
Yep.
No,
Good luck.
I agree though. Like I don't want anything different. I want the same game just looking better, and I hope that it has some good online multiplayer stuff because that would be super cool. I feel like now games have really come to the point where they've been good with, multiplayer options online, and people know that that's what the public wants. They want to be able to play online, and especially right now, online play is super important. So I hope that whatever they do with multiplayer, that they add some fun online options. Um, I also, I don't know, I think that Tony Hawk 5 left such a bad taste in everybody's mouth that they know what everybody wants is just the same thing. They don't want it different. They don't want them to redo everything. They don't want them, like, you don't need to you know, like you don't need to make these different levels and add Lil Wayne in it. Like, you know, we just want the game we played as kids, but just in a better version. Like, that's it. We all loved it. Just do it again. We'll pay for it again, kind of thing. So I'm kind of just hoping it's the same thing and maybe some cool customization options. That's about really all I want. It's just some multiplayer and maybe some cool customization that maybe wasn't in the first two games. That
Yeah.
you know, but maybe some cool like unlockable skaters that you could get, you know, that are kind of more relevant to more
Yeah.
recent times. I
I
guess
agree.
that'd be cool. Like if I could like nollie with Barack Obama or something, like that'd be rad.
That'd be dope.
I would.
Probably very expensive to have Obama in the game, but
Well, I
yes.
mean, yes, that was just my first thought. But you know, like
Yeah.
somebody in the last couple of years who has been
Joe Rogan.
yeah,
Let's have Joe
let's
Rogan
have
in it.
Joe
Yep.
Rogan on it. Yes.
Yes.
So, but yeah, does anybody else have anything else to say about the Tony Hawk series?
No, but I know our listeners have a few things to say. If you guys want to open up Instagram
Yeah,
and
let's
we
do it.
can read these off. I'll start it off
Yeah.
with the first person that wrote, which is Lit Gaming Arena. They have an amazing podcast. It's a gaming podcast. He says, I don't recall any specific memories, just having a good ass time while playing it, which I agree. You know, that's what it comes down to when it comes to Tony Hawk.
Right on. You want me to go next?
Sure.
All right. I'll read the Retro Gamer. He says, my fondest memory is of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 on the PlayStation 2. Scored it the other week and traded it in for Assassin's Creed 4 on Wii U.
That's not really a good memory, but okay.
I disagree with that decision, but we'll let it go for now.
Yes. Tony, you got it up?
Yeah, what do you want me to read your dads or what?
Yeah, read my dad's. Why not?
Happy Golden Podcast, precisely. Time sure flies. When you are gaming and drinking a cold brew, best wishes, Bo, Tony, Kel, and Kayla, and all the great guests featured in episodes 1 through 50.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Chronicles of a Gamer says, I never played Tony Hawk Pro Skater because I was never into skateboarding. I actually just sent him Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, just disc only, in the mail this morning, actually, with a bunch of stickers.
Good for
So,
you. We
yeah,
gotta spread this game around,
yeah,
man.
I'm like, yo, I don't care. He's like, I'm not into skateboarding. I'm like, neither was I, but I got into it because of this game, so play it. But my buddy Corey, Random Retro AM, he says, I'm not into communism, stacking blocks, or the Russian space program, but I still gave Tetris a try. So thank you, Corey, for that. Like,
He's not a communist.
yeah,
No, it is definitely. I think if I ever ran into somebody who hasn't played this game, I would 100% just be like, just come over, play this game for
yeah.
15
Well, that's why I was
minutes,
like, hey,
and
I'm gonna send it to you. You
mhm,
know,
yeah, good on you.
yeah,
So
it's not my favorite one, but here
yeah,
you go.
well, man, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you come over to our side and
Yep,
join us on this. And now you can know what we're talking about too.
exactly.
Nintendo Rose 91 says, my favorite was Tony Hawk Pro Skater on N64 and Underground on PS2. My memories are just playing so much. LOL. I agree. I just played so much. So much.
Ghost of Gamer Past, never heard of Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
He's a liar.
Obviously.
Well, then
Satire.
what I said in the beginning of the podcast is for him because he's been living under the rock.
Yeah. Tony, do you just want to do the next one?
Sure. What is it? Panasonic 3Do?
3DO.
Yeah, why not 3Do?
Just because it's called the Panasonic 3DO. But
Okay.
But why not
yeah.
3do?
Getting the
Yes,
green
why not?
vehicle and underground and making it fall through the map by the railroad tracks simply by slowly backing into the barrier of the map. Interesting.
Which I never heard of that.
I kind of remember doing something similar, like very vaguely. I think I know what he's talking about.
What is a green vehicle?
You have to do like this driving mission at some point,
Oh,
and you get and you like. I'm trying to remember. This has inspired me to go back and play through the Underground 1 and 2 career story modes.
yeah. No, honestly, I really want to play more Tony Hawk after, not even after, before. Also, like,
Yeah.
I just want to play Tony Hawk again.
Yeah. So I
It's been a while.
like vaguely remember this just because it's been so long since I've actually played through the story mode. But I think I'm gonna have to play through again.
Mm-hmm. So our buddies from the Gaming Podcast Alliance, Rated G for Gamers, he says Tony Hawk 2 legit is one of the best games of all time. It's perfect in every way. I bought the PC version, played it with my Microsoft Sidewinder gamepad, aced the whole game, hidden characters and all. The manual maneuver to link tricks between grinds and gaps. Chef's kiss. .jpeg. Which I don't know if he put an actual JPEG
No,
image in there.
he just wrote that.
Just .jpeg. Okay.
Just .jpeg. You can add .jpeg to anything to make it comedy. .jpeg. See what I did there?
I never heard that. I mean, .com is something.
You
but
could do
yes,
that too,
okay.
or .png if you really want to.
Wow.
The Nerdness TV says used to sleep over at a buddy's in high school during the summer and used to pull all-nighters playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. That's good stuff right there.
Red Bedroom Game says rooftop McTwist.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I think that was like an actual quest thing that you had to do.
Yeah. I was in the first one, I think. In the first
Yeah,
Tony Hawk
that.
Underground.
I mean, he said technically, yeah, Underground. Technically, Tony Hawk Underground memory still counts, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that I think that was a mission in the first Underground.
Let me skip through a couple. Simon Morin says winning 1v1 trick attack of King of the Hill after school in the college map the second after I came home.
You know what's funny is you can just say the word college map and my brain is already picturing the layout of the whole college level. Like I can already see where you drop in and like all the stuff in the middle. It's just wild that
Yeah.
you can say those two words together and then you just immediately, you've played so much of it, you can just think of it right away. Random Retro AM says I was into skateboarding way before the Tony Hawk games, so when the first one came out it was a complete game changer. Up until that point most skateboarding games left a lot to be desired. We agree. They were either a good attempt but outdated like 720 or even TNC Surf designs, or just average like Thrasher, Skate and Destroy. My friend's dad had a CD burner, so he rented Tony Hawk. I gave it to him to burn a copy and went skateboarding for the rest of the day while the 1X burner did its magic. Skateboarding and burning games and CDs was a big part of that era for me and my friends. A friend of mine actually made an unofficial Tony Hawk soundtrack and would sell them at cost to people at school. Dude, that hustle.
That's amazing.
Mad respect.
Yeah.
Mad respect. But I remember doing a lot of skateboarding and burning CDs and playing Tony Hawk a lot in those days too. That's a pretty strong memory for me too at that point.
Yeah, definitely. We're on the next one here.
Yeah, you can do Matt.
Yeah, Matt's Vitter Game Corner. He says, easy when the demo disc for the second game came out. Me and my homies lost our minds, played that demo more than the actual game probably. It was so awesome for the time. It was.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like, yeah, you just dropped in on the hangar and that was it. Like, that's all you had to do.
Yeah.
But that hangar level, it just has so much. You can do so much in that one spot. Like, you can be skating the ramp, and then you can do some gaps, and all of a sudden you're launching a helicopter off. Like, that shit was wild.
Nutty.
Like, if you think, like, nothing else ever was like, yeah, let's do this, and all of a sudden, you don't even know this is happening, but you could, bonk right off of the side of the helicopter, and all of a sudden it's taken off, and you're like, what the fuck happened? What did I do? And then all of a sudden the ceiling breaks and there's glass falling, and you're still trying to do your combo, and you're like, what the shit? And
Yeah.
this is great. So that was one of the coolest things, is all those gaps that they put in there and everything, those secret things that the developers put in to make the game literally just fun and random. It gave it a good time.
I agree.
Right on. Well, guys, anybody got anything else?
We have a giveaway going on, so we gotta
We do.
put a secret code into the mystery box giveaway. This is our last secret code. Tony, you being the special person in this podcast, I want to say guest, but you're really not a guest. Do you want to give the secret code?
Do you want me to just pick a random one?
Yes, please.
What if let's do flower?
Flower?
Is that good?
I guess. Yeah, sure.
I feel like
Usually it's related to the podcast, but that's fine. Flower's fine.
Well, I thought I was gonna do something like that, but then that would be too easy to pick, like skateboarding or something.
No, nobody's going to guess it.
Pick like a weird trick, like Jesus air or something.
Christ air.
Christ air, yeah. Oh. No, flower's good.
Yeah, let's just do flower. That's fine.
Now, is it flower, like as in what you're baking with, or the ones in your garden?
No, yeah, like a rose, or like a tulip.
Spelled the same way, right?
No.
No.
Bro, what? What? No.
What?
No. No.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. Okay, yeah.
I know I'm absolutely right, and so is Webster's Dictionary. Flower, secret code.
All right, let's end this.
You've had too much of your sauce over
Everything. Yep.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure, guys.
Definitely.
50 episodes. Congrats. We made it, I guess. And it's been awesome going deep into this topic, So
it has.
Make sure you guys yes.
No, I wanted to say thank you, Tony, for coming back on. I know that you don't necessarily I'm saying this wrong.
So I'm taking a little hiatus from the pod, but I will be back on from time to time, to enjoy some casts with you guys.
Cool.
There we go.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You started it with us, and I appreciate you being on here with us.
No problem. Now, I'm glad to be back, and you guys take it and run with it. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're a great person to have on it. So always enjoy it.
Absolutely.
All right, enough with the sappy, stupid shit.
Oh, okay, but it's 50.
I love
it's
you.
50. You're supposed to go low. All right.
Yeah.
Bo's reached his peak. We need to end. All right. Make sure you follow us on our socials at
Wow.
Precisely Podcast. Make sure you enter our giveaway with the secret code. And what was it, 4 before this? Right? 4 other codes?
There's
I don't know
3
why I'm
before
asking you. You would
this, so it's 4 altogether.
3 before? Okay.
Well, it's 4
4
altogether.
codes
Yeah, it's 4
altogether.
altogether. Yep.
Yes, make sure you send all 4 codes in so you have your chances to win a mystery box of games and shit valued at about $100 or more. And
And shit.
yeah, and shit. And we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate our listeners who have been listening to us for 50 episodes, especially. That is
Absolutely.
brilliant that you have listened to our voices for 50 episodes. That is way too many hours.
Thank you.
That you've listened to us. But we appreciate that. And everybody, stay safe and healthy and go out and skate or play Tony Hawk after listening to this. Because
Yes.
I'm inspired.
Do a fucking kickflip. Why don't you?
Yeah. Or
Just
better
do 'em.
yet, fucking go out, get a board, get a plank, get like a wooden plank, like the 70s, and slap some metal wheels on it.
Yeah.
And go do a kickflip and film yourself a kickflip and send it to us because we want to see it.
Sure.
Or
just
or don't
get a regular skateboard and do it. But yeah, have a good night, y'all.
I mean,
we out.
We out.